Hey you guys, today's going to be a simple hand-building pinch pot candle. What's really fun about this project is you can do this with any extra clay you have just by simply making a pinch pot. So starting with some clay, you're literally going to stick your finger in the middle, your thumb, and then start pinching up the sides. Now I don't make my pinch pots perfectly round. I like them to be very organic. So you'll see as I'm pulling up the sides, I'm not making sure my rim is even. And then I'm actually pushing and using my inside of my passive hand, so my left hand, to act as a barrier as I push on the inside out so that I can sort of bowl out my piece. And I'll continue to do that and add some shape to it. I might even push a little harder in one area than another so that it kind of bubbles out and creates these interesting little marks on the outside. And then if I find there's an area too big, I just remove some clay and bring the two edges together, and that will make it smaller. And I will continue to do that until I get the shape that I like. I really liked this technique that I had seen where you kind of pull up your edges using a rib, and it will create this kind of like fluted edge almost automatically just by force, because it forces the clay up. You're almost like compressing it. So to achieve this without tearing through the wall of your pinch pot, you use your passive hand on the inside and use the tip of your rib to push on the outside. So you're pushing on the outside into the pot and pulling it up, and the hand that's bracing on the inside will just help prevent you from going through the wall. So I'll just continue doing that all the way around my pot. And then I'll clean up some of the edges as I go, so that, yes, it's messy and organic, but at the same time, it's still clean. If I tear off a piece, I will just add more on. What's nice is the clay at this point is so wet that you can just add to it and smudge it down. You don't have to slip and score. Now I just want to clean up the tips of the little ruffled part that I created at the top of my pot. I put my piece in front of the fan just to set up a bit, and then now I'm just taking an X-Acto knife and tracing around that ruffled edge that's already created, and I'll trim it off and then I'll just smooth it down. Now fire per usual and glaze it, and once it's out of the glaze kiln, you can create your candle. So to do this, you're going to need wicks, some wax, and something to melt your wax in. I have soy wax, and this container I can actually microwave my wax in. So I have found the easiest way to make sure you have the right amount of wax that you need is to fill up your container twice. Okay, okay? Because they're like little beads of wax, and you're going to need those to melt down. Now here I have this ginormous wick that's way more than I need, but they sell these bases that you can put your leftover wick in. So I'll put it in and then I'll end up cutting it, but I don't have to throw away the rest of that wick. It's still good. I use a little bit of tacky glue to glue down my wick in place so that it doesn't, it's just an extra way to make sure it doesn't float up while the wax is sitting in there. So I'll let that sit in there, and then I'll just hold it for a second. It's tacky glue, so it doesn't take long to stick in. Once it's in there in place, I'll then use some chopsticks to keep the wick standing straight up, because you don't want it leaning, or then you're going to have a wick off to the side in your pot, unless that's what you're going for. So I'll use these chopsticks, put them together. I'll kind of squeeze it so that it holds on. That wax will kind of help it stick together, and I'll just rubber band it to keep it in place, because I have such a wonky bowl. Now you'll notice this bowl is a different one. My other one, I wasn't quite happy with how it came out, so I've decided to use another simpler formed pinch pot that I use to test out our oil spot glaze. So once you've melted your wax, you can keep it just plain wax, or you can add a scent to it. I'm putting linen in, and when you're melting your wax, you want to make sure you're not overheating it, because it can go bad. So I do it in, I put it in first for like 30 seconds, and then, a minute, and then I'll do 30-second intervals. And I'll take it out right before it's done finishing. It gets to temperature pretty great. You don't need one of those fancy candle makers. You can keep adding the amount of essential oil that you want for the scent. What you smell in the melted wax is what you're going to smell when your candle is firing. So I'll keep mixing it, make sure that essential oil is all mixed in, and then I'm just pouring it in to the pinch pot that I created. And then that's pretty much it. You're gonna let it sit. Oh, here I have just some leaves that I found that I'm sticking in on top, because why not? You can get really creative and do some like rosebuds, some rosemary, depending on the scent you have. Once it has all set up, you take your sticks off and you cut your wick, and you're all set. This size of a candle is probably going to only take 30 minutes to melt all the way, but it's still a nice little gift. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.